Hi friends! Do you use AI as your thinking partner? A lot of people say AI helps them think better. But as someone who co-writes with AI regularly, I've started to question whether that's actually true. I think in many cases, AI is not improving our thinking itself. What it is improving is the outcome to structure and complete our thoughts. And that distinction matters. Thinking is a process. Structured and polished thought is an outcome. AI may help us improve the outcome of thinking, but does it actually help us think better? If you use AI often, I know this question might actually be uncomfortable. Because AI may help us produce better thoughts, but that doesn't necessarily mean it helps us become better thinkers. And I think this is exactly where the confusion begins. Because AI can support our thinking outcomes in different ways, and the more subtle that support becomes, the easier it is to mistake support for thinking itself. Let me show you why this matters by looking at the different levels at which AI can shape our thinking outcomes. At the first level, AI can generate for you. You give it a prompt, and it produces ideas, language, a draft, or a prototype. At the second level, AI helps organize your thoughts. You already have ideas, but they're scattered or incomplete, and AI helps structure them into something clearer and more coherent. And then there's a third level, where many people start calling AI a true thinking partner. AI asks questions, challenges your assumptions, and it helps you develop your own ideas further. At that level, it becomes much easier to feel that the ideas are still yours, because AI is no longer simply generating for you. It's helping you arrive at something through your own responses. But this is where I want to introduce a subtle challenge. Even in that process, AI is still functioning as a cognitive scaffold. By that, I mean a support structure that helps you do something you may not yet be able to do as clearly, independently, or efficiently on your own. In education, scaffolding helps learners perform a task with support before they can truly do it on their own. And I think AI is starting to play that role in our thinking. It is still influencing the direction, the difficulty, and the quality of your thinking. So I think we need to be honest about that role AI plays. Because if we remove AI from the picture, can you still think in the same way, with the same direction, depth, and clarity without that scaffold? In my own life, one place I noticed this very clearly is writing with tools like ChatGPT. Sometimes I use AI to help me write social media content. Usually I already have an observation or a key idea I want to explore. I'm not asking AI to invent my opinion for me. Instead, I often ask it to help me polish the idea further. Sometimes it asks me questions. Sometimes it helps me clarify what is still vague. In that sense, AI becomes something like a writing coach. And honestly, it makes writing much easier. Before AI, writing could feel like a grinding process for me. Even when I had a glimpse of some news ideas, there was still a huge amount of work involved in stitching those ideas together, finding concrete examples, and shaping the argument until it became strong enough to guide everything else. Writing used to feel almost like an engineering project. I had to build the whole structure myself, piece by piece. With AI, the process feels very different. Writing becomes much faster. AI can ask questions, suggest directions, find research, and help structure the piece while I'm thinking through it. And then suddenly, I'm no longer the person building every brick of the structure. I become more like a project manager. And that shift made me notice something very strange. It is easier for me now to write, but I feel less fulfilled in the process of co-writing with AI. I produce more posts, but something about the process feels less authentic to me. And sitting with that feeling helped me realize something. I care a lot about authentic creativity, real growth, and an authentic relationship with my own creation. I'm not saying using AI is cheating, but in my mind, there is still a different weight to creating something through my own cognitive process versus creating it with the assistance of AI. And I think the reason that weight feels different is because without that struggle, the process feels less alive. It feels less like I'm discovering something through my own effort, and more like I'm managing a process toward an outcome. The work may still be good with the help of AI. It may even be better on the surface, but I feel less ownership of it. It doesn't feel fully mine. It feels like my unique perspective and my voice are no longer carrying the same weight in my work. And I'm more likely to forget the actual ideas I expressed in the pieces I co-wrote with AI. And when that happens, I feel less confident in my own creative process. The work starts to feel less like something I truly made, and more like something I produced to fill a space. It becomes more mechanical. It feels like it has less soul. And I think this is why struggle matters, especially cognitive struggle. Because in that struggle, we slow down and ask, what is working here? What is not working? And what is the next step that would actually make this piece stronger? That process builds judgment. AI often gives us directions. It gives us something to choose from. And if we are overloaded, impatient, or mentally tired, it becomes very easy to simply pick from what it offers. But choosing from options is not always the same thing as generating insight from within. When I have to struggle through the writing myself, I feel like I'm building a carefully designed castle, brick by brick. With AI, it often feels like the instructions are already there, or even the final deliverable is already implied. And that takes away some of the confusion, the creative problem solving, and the fulfillment of finally arriving at something through my own effort. And maybe this is the deeper tension. Efficiency may improve, but the thinking may feel less alive. So maybe the real risk is not simply that AI is useful or it helps us too much. Maybe the real risk is that in the name of efficiency, we keep asking AI to do more and more of the work without noticing what that process is taking away from us. Because what may be disappearing is not just effort. It may be part of what helps us develop judgment, ownership, meaning, and a deeper relationship with our own thinking. So the next time you ask AI to help you produce better work, ask yourself, are you slowly losing the very process that helps you become a better thinker? This may not matter as much if your goal is purely efficiency. But I want you to notice how you actually feel when AI does most of the work for you and what is left in you afterward. If you still feel energized, creative, and connected to the process, that's one thing. But if there's a sense of hollowness, I want you to know you're not alone in that feeling. And if you sit with that hollowness a little longer, one possible answer may be this: AI did not just help you produce the work. It also changed your relationship to thinking and creating in ways you may not have fully noticed. I'm really curious whether you felt this in your own process. Has AI helped you think better, or mainly helped you produce better thinking outcomes? Let me know in the comments. And if you're interested in the conversations we're not having about working with AI, subscribe. That's what I'll be exploring here.